Hey guys, welcome to one more episode of our podcast here, Table Salt in YWAM, Virginia Beach. And today we have an amazing guest, a good friend, and I hope you guys stick around there because it's going to be a good conversation. So don't go anywhere. And before you do anything, please subscribe to our channel. Share this content, this video with a lot of people and friends and family, because this is going to help us to amplify more what we're doing here and what God is calling us in Virginia Beach through this podcast. So don't go anywhere. We'll come back very soon. Yay, guys! This is so amazing. Guys, today I have with us Rick McDonald. I've known Rick, I'll say since 2000. If I say 18, I think it'll be correct. Maybe.
Well, I met Anna in November.
Was that 18?
Of 18. Yeah. 18, because I just came back from DTS.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, our connection came because you guys were in the food line in the dining room, and
Olivia,
my daughter
Livy.
pulled the converse. As always, she's the magnet of putting us in trouble sometimes and telling people things, but she was the one that connected us. And since then, Rick has been here with us, teaching in our DTSs, bringing an amazing sense of a type of modern prophet and how to prophecy and the prophetic movement in our modern world, this generation, and our one of the top teachings for us. It's because people get really activated, and they felt they always felt like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do it, and that's the feeling of fulfillment. So before we go through that, I want you to just take some time. I'm pretty sure people at home wants to know more about you. Tell us a little bit about your journey, like where you're from, your journey until how you met the Lord, and things that you did in life, and until you get here. So
It's great to be here, man. I love you so much. I love Anna and Nicholas and Olivia. And just like meeting Olivia, we're just standing in the food line in Richmond. I just got back from Kona, Hawaii, just going into the mission myself at 51 years old. The Lord had asked me to shut down and go back to school, go back into YWAM, which we're learning that God is calling older, mature believers, some even pastors, business leaders that are just solidly serving Jesus. He's calling into the mission. And Lauren, Darlene had said, we've lost a generation. Basically, it was Gen X. We lost a portion of Gen X. We've lost this age. We need to reach out. So they started Crossroads again and stuff like that. So anyway, as God called me in, I was coming home from there. I had was there for about 9 months, staffing at Crossroads with Amy Ward. I came home, but I also brought with me a bunch of the Korean DTS, international DTS. They wanted to come to Baltimore. And so I brought them into Baltimore.
Yeah, that's correct.
Remember?
I remember now. Yeah.
And so they came into Baltimore, and then we ended up down in Richmond, and we're in line. And I've been praying for Richmond and prophesying about Richmond. It's one of 13 cities that God has given me in the last 10 years to watch over. And Olivia just looked up at me and said hi. I said, "What's your name?" And she says, "Oh, Olivia." I said, "That's one of my favorite names." And she, of course, a little girl's face is going to light up, right? Yeah. Any kid, right? You know what I mean? Any of us, you know what I mean? And that's why we're here. So I think I like what you said is the modern prophetic life. For me, if you're going to look at a prophet and glean from their life, you got to study their whole life, right? God is a holistic God. He's more focused on the whole person than talent and gifts, right? Greek philosophy, Western philosophy focuses on talent.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Look at the Book of Corinthians. But the Hebrew philosophy or Middle Eastern philosophy or Eastern philosophy focuses on the person, the whole person. So I mean, if you're a prophetic person, you're a prophetic person in the womb. You come out, your whole life lines up. And so, my life has just been one long series of events that I didn't know that I was in the school of the prophets from the day I came out of the womb. So everything kind of, as in Ephesians, it talks about the redemption of time. He redeems time. He redeems the times of our life because everything he does is redemptive.
Yep.
He buys everything back. So yeah, I mean, I just, I grew up in, a typical American home. I grew up in an immigrant neighborhood, a lot of Irish and Scottish and Germans and Greeks and Italians and Jews and just a lot of flavor. And I grew up in a little microcosm of America where I actually grew up in a 50-50 Caucasian and, black neighborhood, what I mean? So most of my friends are African American. Most of my mentors in life between the age of 8 and 18 were older black men in the basketball courts in the neighborhood. I had a good, I spent a lot of time as a child alone and, studying encyclopedias. I taught myself how to read. I didn't get along in school too well because once I learned how to make people laugh, my schooling was over. Because it was a stand-up comedy every day, right? I mean, the comic's dream is the captivated audience.
Yeah.
Right. Once I realized I could get attention by the way I acted, right, it was over. But I would spend I had a lot of trauma as a child, lots of trauma. My sisters had trauma. We grew up in trauma. We grew up battling. There was some mental illness in our leadership, in our family leadership. But there was love, there was strength and courage. All my family are the type of people who, no matter how broken they are, they still want to help. They want to run into the burning building. A lot of us had served our country, been in different forms of military for generations. And so, or just whatever, type of stuff. So, but I would spend a lot of time trying to escape the trauma, which had led to drugs, a lot of drug use. It wasn't about the drug; it was about the escape. Music, drugs, sports, girls. Very hyperactive. I was on Ritalin at 3 years. The third grade, they put me on Ritalin, and at that time we didn't know how bad it was. What I mean, for you. It was the 70s. Cigarettes without filters, cars without seatbelts.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Smoking airplanes,
right? Carrying guns and, in the airplanes, what I mean? Generation X, So, but during that time, I developed a fondness for, being by myself. And then I would just fill myself up with all this information from books and movies and TV. And then I'd go out into the public and I'd wander through the neighborhood. And you're going to be my friend today. You're going to be my friend. And so I just began to connect with people, learn how to connect with people, learn how to survive, really.
Yeah.
So my life has been about being by myself, gathering personal, all this information, jokes, and then going out into the public and learn what jokes work, what jokes don't work, what information works, what doesn't work. I mean, I'm 10 years old. And I'm telling jokes I learned in an adult sitcom. It doesn't work, but I still working it. I learned how to interact with parents and kids and stuff like that. So it was a lot of a very relational kind of thing growing up. And I just, that's kind of the foundation of my life, really just, moving in and out of so many different types of subcultures, sports, drugs, gangs, everybody, man. I was like the thread. I connected all these. When I was older and I would throw a party, and I would have I'd throw a couple parties. I would have 180, 200 people in a party twice, these huge parties. And I had actors, theater people, I had rugby players, I had drug dealers, I had car mechanics, and they were all just partying, man, and it was just that kind of thing. So.
And how did you?
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It's like a mix. I understand what you're
saying.
Very,
very, very eclectic, very open, very a lot of moving parts in my life.
And how did you get into? Because I know you played rugby. But
I did.
Did you go to the military?
Yes.
Before or after rugby?
After.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was and you played for how long? How did you get in and play?
Well,
rugby?
so growing up, I played all the American sports. I even played soccer too. I played basketball was my first love.
Soccer is a Brazilian sport. No,
It is.
just kidding.
It is a brilliant sport. Brazilian sport. It's the sport.
Yeah.
I grew up playing all the different sports. My mom remarried when I was 10, right? And so my stepfather liked sports. We didn't have a great relationship at that time in our life, of course. I didn't have any good relationship with anybody, adults, And I started to play basketball, then soccer and football and some baseball, and I just love sports. I just wanted to be outside all day playing, running, jumping, whatever. I've been by myself, playing all by myself, kicking field goals, driving golf balls, and just anything to be active. And my grandmother bought I was reading encyclopedias as a kid. It was the internet, right?
Yeah.
These Before the phones, there was these.
That's it.
And so I remember she bought me. I was like 10 years old, and she bought two things for me. She bought she bought many things, but two things were given to me early, pre-Christmas. Was a sports encyclopedia about all sports. I mean, it was like 3 inches thick. And she bought me a T-shirt from the hospital and the university. She worked at Johns Hopkins University, and so the first thing I did was like, oh, Hopkins, and I went to the book and what's Hopkins, and found out they were great in lacrosse, but I would read this book like the Bible, and so I was very much into sports. And then one day around 15, I read something about rugby, and this is 1981, 82, and it stuck with me. Even some guys in the neighborhood, boys, there was a rugby team in the neighborhood, and they would go into practice with the gentlemen, the old men, but they wouldn't let me come. They said, no, you can't come. No, Rudolph.
Yeah.
Can't come. And it was years later. I just got home I was in the Army National Guard, and I was home from some training. I was in Fort Benning, Georgia, and I came home, and my life was really, going in a different direction, and just real empty and hurting. And I wasn't getting the National Guard wasn't a good thing at that time. For me, it wasn't working. It was just not a good setup, and I wanted to go full-time military. They wouldn't let me, and so I'm like, screw you, and then one day I was working in a bar, and I saw a guy with a rugby jersey on, and I said, hey man, is that rugby? And yeah. So I want to play, and I went out to practice, and that became my tribe. They became my college years. That became my special forces guys. They became my tribe, my troop. And I spent 4 years playing in America, and then ended up in Ireland, playing in Ireland. And it was through rugby that I came to Christ in Ireland. And I was playing pretty high level, moving up the chain. And and God just kind of wrecked my rugby career by saving me in Ireland.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love rugby too.
It's a great sport.
Yeah. And I've seen we've been talking about this, and it's something that you have only always since you were a kid, is the ability of being. I think God is just since you were a kid, reading things. God bringing to the ministry after you getting to know Jesus. It's more like you're now, reading people.
Yes.
And became something that God is using your life now to open the prophetic. Eyes to see, and now what you're gathering information by reading people, but also connecting how God reads them as well. God sees them, and the way the potential, the identity, the purpose, the destiny. There's so much in that just by spending time with people. So and watching people. So what is the Lord what is the ministry that God that you were doing after that? For years. And then after we're gonna go. I want to know more what God is doing now, because I know He's changing something, but it's not a totally change, but it's kind of
evolving,
going to a different season.
It's evolving,
of your calling. So tell me a little bit more about that passion for people and reading people now in a different way than before. Before you're surviving, but now became life.
It became life.
Yeah.
I mean. One way to look at it is just to be, the evangelist, gifting of the evangelist is what I like to call the gift of hospitality. We want to set a table, and we want to put a meal on the table, and we want to invite all the people to the table. And we want people to come and connect with each other, right? And evangelism, and the heart of evangelism, was, especially, I mean, I'm a prophetic person, so prophetic evangelism is basically trying to connect people to God and God to people. For me, I learned how to connect people to me to people, and to learn how people in every scenario thinks, how to survive in every scenario, how to walk up on a street corner in downtown inner city of Baltimore. What's up, fellas? Hey, man. All right, cool. All right, what's up? Okay. You know what I mean? How to operate. One of the struggles, though, was how to operate in there are certain areas where it was difficult, like, wealthy, people from very wealthy backgrounds, old money, upper class type things. That came later. But for me, it was to connect with the everyday people and learning how to connect. And what happened was the Lord, that was how the God was raising me up. And so in the prophetic, in the ministry of that, is really how to bring God and people together in a place. How to connect with a person so I can bring the message of the gospel to them. How to get to their heart, their original design. What is God saying about this person? What is the why? What is the thing of that person? Who are they? And so I had this one girl, a friend of mine, Marissa. We were at a bar before I knew the Lord, and we were just drinking and having fun. And I was talking to somebody. And she said this as a compliment, but also kind of like a like a joke. She says, Rick, you don't just meet people and just say hi. You get their life story. Like, as soon as you start talking to them, you interview them.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in, the Bible says it's to the glory of God to conceal a thing, and to the glory of King to search it out. God just made me an inquisitive person. I need to know what's going on. And then now it's about the anointing, right? So in the prophetic, I'm looking, God, whether I'm walk into a room of people, you walk in with the spirit of discernment. You walk in with the prophetic anointing. It could be any kind of situation, and you're looking for the David in the room. Where's the anointing? Who's God breathing on? God will just go, boop, this person, and you go connect, right? You have fun with everybody else, but then you're connecting with certain people. So the prophetic ministry God's given me, it's always been about line upon line, precept upon precept. That's what was prophesied over me my first year in Bible school, then with the Master's Commission, Assemblies of God, when it was like, Rick, you will come up line by line, precept upon precept, step by step. You will come up through the ranks, youth pastor, young adults, this. And that prophecy 100% has come full fruition, that I have come up through the ranks of the local church, serving. When I got saved in 93, immediately in my church, I was immediately having dreams and visions, encounters with God, out-of-body experiences. I mean, God would take me out of and I would come out of my spirit, and there was a situation where a woman was dying, and God used me. I was having visitations and stuff early on, and he placed me with the right moms and dads in the spirit, and I just said yes to everything. Whatever the church wanted me to do, I went to Bible school, and I just served. And in the first 20 years was about the local church, international missions, the local church, but the underlying thing was collecting. It was intercession, prayer. Everything about me was, let me back up a second. Everything is about knowing God with me. It's just to know God. When I got saved, the first words that came out of my mouth were, I finally have the Father that I've always wanted. God revealed himself to me immediately. And I found Dad. I found home. And I'm in love with God. I mean, you are as well. I'm in love with God. You're in love with God. He motivates my life and my day. It's not something. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's not. I'm not even trying to be cool. I'm not trying to be cool. No, that's right. I tell people, I'm not trying to be cool here. Yeah. I'd rather just be alone with Jesus and share with. You go into cities, preach the gospel, pray. And it's not trying to be more than anyone. It's just like, that's what we're created to relationship with him. And then it's some people get it. Some people still getting it. Yeah. And that's what we do, is we try to help them get it.
Yep.
And being an ex-athlete, being a person that wanted to be a professional athlete, who wanted to be a career military guy, who wanted to be a conqueror of things, God kept me from all of that, got me saved, and that drive to be the best I can be. I don't want to be better than you.
Yeah.
I want to be the best I can be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we compare ourselves with Jesus now.
Right. So now,
there's a competition. I'm not going to look in somebody else's ministry.
No.
I'm going to look at Jesus like I want to
outrun Jesus. Yeah. I want to outlove Jesus, right? And so anyway, so I think that we're getting some answers here, but I guess your question was, how does the past line into the ministry? So the first 20 years was about intercession, private, getting the keys to the church and spending hours in the sanctuary. They let me go in and pray, and I would be there, people going to the movies and with their family and people doing stuff. Friday nights, I was in the sanctuary to 1 o'clock in the morning, dancing and singing, because I just love God, and so that's the foundation of the prophetic in my life, is that relationship. And having accuracy and integrity of heart, and to get it right. I want to get it right. I want to do it right.
Yeah, and I think cool, like I love what he's saying, because the type of ministry and what God is calling us, and it's kind of like the same thing. And I see it's a puzzle, because me and Anna, we now see the activating this generation now, as parents, like activating them to see more into the prophetic, and because it is what goes back to, we're unleashing those kids that were being in the corral.
Activating the generations.
So, and they're in the place, they have strength, they have all the potential, they have all the dreams, but they're just like they having a hard time to find that out. And so what we do in discipling them and bringing them to our house and bring it, kind of like loving on them is one thing, but what you bring is part of that puzzle as well, which is more into the activation on the prophetic. Yeah, and it's more like to know, like the way you read and see people. Yeah, and bring that. We see the difference. We see the difference because that's how God used your ministry. Yeah, and I think we were talking the other day about and I believe in the same thing. Well, one thing I believe. And I've been other episodes I talk about this. I really believe the reason God brought us here is because I believe revival is going to come through the immigrants in the States. Yeah. I feel that the passion about being a Brazilian and American. Yeah. I see my kids, they understand both things. They have the passion, but they have the organization as well. So it's like a organized fire. Yes. That's what, I see that. Organized. Yeah. So they have the desire, the passion. And I know it's coming, and we're talking about this. I think it's coming a time that being radical for Jesus and in love with Jesus would be the rebellion thing to do. Yes. We just talked about that, right? Yeah. So and I believe that, because I was telling Anna the same thing the other day. I was like, I feel like the new cool thing that's gonna happen is when people, this young generation out there, they want to do this, they want to do that, they want to fight for this cause, and now it's becoming so uncool to be a Christian that is becoming like cool. You know what? If I want to rebel against my parents, I'll be a Christian. Right. But then when they come in, they're gonna be caught up in God's love and destiny. Yeah. They're not gonna leave. They're gonna find the real passion. I think God is using all this craziness and this mess in the world right now to bring this generation to Him. Yeah. Because it's gonna become the new thing. One of the biggest things that in the last 10 years, I want to say this, get right back to what you're saying, and don't let me wander, because I want to say something that kind of culture, it's about, for me, the last 10 years, it's been about gathering intel for the Lord. Mm-hmm. So I go around, God leads me to all these places to gather intel. And then I write a report. And then God confirms that, because there's no single source information. You don't write a report on one source of information, right? You have to have confirmations. You have to have whatever, and you can't have your own bias in it. So God will say, go to New York City. I'll start to drive. Yeah, and I have nothing. I gotta go. I'll go to Montreal, and I'll end up a week in Montreal, or I'll end up 24 hours in New York, and then 10 hours in Philadelphia. And I'll go there, and then God will speak to me as I'm going. I download the information. And it's more than being just boots on the ground intercession. This is like intelligence work. It's like you're gathering intel.
And so in 2013, God moved on my life, and there was a visitation that lasted for about 4 years, physical manifestation. And in that time, God began to pour into me so much information that I couldn't even have conversations with people about it because it was like so condensed. And I was like, it was hard. And God surrounded me with some really good people to help process it. One of those guys is an ex-DOD employee. He worked for an agency, and he's now a Christian and loves the Lord, but he understands this kind of stuff. Yeah. And he's been with me for 5 years now, 3-4 days a week. Wow. And so one of the moments where God began to show me was, in the end, this great 1 billion soul harvest end time revival that I've been carrying since 1993. Right, that was a promise God made to me in 1996. Was 1 billion souls. He sent a woman from Poland to me to tell me to ask me now for anything, and I'll give it to you. 3 years in the Lord, young evangelist, on staff at a church, hands in the air during worship. Open my eyes, and there's this Polish woman standing in front of me. I'm like, am I in trouble? What did I do now? She says, God said, ask anything, and I'll give it to you. And I went, It's like Ricky Bobby. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm like, I want 1 billion souls. And she said, you'll have it. Smacked me in the head and walked away. And that's framed my whole revival, Reformation, East Coast revival, end time revival. It shaped my whole 30 years. So one of the things he showed me was in 2013 when the encounter shifted my whole life was that Christianity will become the counterculture. Yeah. A moral revolution will happen in France, and in America, the peer pressure would be, what do you mean, you're not a Christian? Yeah. Like us? Yeah. It's cool. You're not cool, right? And that's what he showed me. So I begin to, when God shows me that, then I'm in private praying. Yeah. And so if the prophet stands before God, hears the information, and then prays it, right? Yeah. The prophetic intercessor prays it. And then if he's told to, or she's told to, then we deliver the word to the public. Or to someone. We ask, what do I do with this? What do I do with this intel? Right? And so one of them was that. Yeah. It's going to be a counterculture. Because, and when we look at Daniel, just not to go off on Daniel, but I'm going to be teaching more on Daniel today to the team, is that in the darkest of times for Judah and Israel, the end, this is captivity. This is the end. Israel's now gone, right? And Judah is now about to be gone. And there's Daniel, who resolved to honor the God. So in the midst of a bunch of 17-year-old kids, right? 17-year-old kids resolved to honor God. Amen. And our job is to activate them and to get their hearts fired up and connect people with their dad, connect people with Papa, connect people with God. I told him today, I said, to know God is everything. To love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and body, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. To me, right? And then all the other 8 and everything on the gospel follows that. But to me, we have one job, to love God. Make that your goal. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's it. And then everything else fall. And if we can, and so this is that counterculture moment. I believe that we're on that verge of it, where we're like it, and it's shifting now. Yeah. And one of the confirmations is like that I know it's coming is because this is the youngest DTS that we have. So many young people, and I'll be like, what are those young people looking for? They are thirsty for more, and that's a confirmation. So I really believe it's coming. Bro, I love your passion. I love your enthusiasm. I love just keeping our friendship and walking through the years is being like so good, because it's not, sometimes people think a prophet is like, no, they're weird. And we're normal. And there's normal things. But we talked about this yesterday. Yes. Yeah. I was talking with Alana yesterday. It's like when I go hang out with my niece and nephews, I don't go as the prophet. Yeah. I don't go as the prophet anywhere. Yeah. But I don't go as the minister. Yeah. I go as Uncle Rick. And just go Uncle Ricky. Uncle Ricky. And to be able to show my cousins and their parents and people like just be normal.
Yeah, and this should be the normal.
You should be able to prophesy. I was raised up this way.
Yeah.
When I'm playing soccer with a bunch of crazy unsaved guys from Turkey or the islands or from Ireland or America, and we're out there playing, to be able to give a prophetic word in the middle of the game. In rugby, to be able to prophesy in the middle of
I believe it.
People say, Uncle Rick, you were punching the guy in the face. I was giving him a word. No, I'm kidding. No, but to be able to. There's no turning off Jesus. It's obedience.
Yeah, his obedience.
But there's no turning off Jesus.
No, never. You don't play soccer and just like hang Jesus.
Right.
He's like, no, you're there. And then if the moment opens, you do it.
And we learn how to do this.
Yeah.
We learn how to do
without
this.
being weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was weird many times, but I learned how not to be weird.
Well, bro, unfortunately, this is coming to an end. I just want to thank you guys. This is amazing.
There'll be part 2.
Yeah, it will be part 2 for sure. We might need to do this week another one because this is so good. There's so much to unpack there. But I just want to honor your time and art and people as well. So please, if you enjoyed this, you can get in touch with us. We're gonna put something in the description. You can get in touch with Rick as well and get to know more about his ministry and what God is doing. Thank you for joining us, guys, and an honor to receive you guys.
Oh, it's an honor, and
you, bro. So
it's an honor to be here with you guys and everybody listening. I love you, and make knowing God your life goal.
Amen. Let's do it. Bless you, guys. Bye.